everyone, Caleb here, and Kim in the background somewhere over there, if you can see her. Welcome back, and it's been it's been a fun 2 weeks. So far throughout this entire adventure, everything's been kind of progressing forward. This week it just feels like well, I mean, a lot happened. Just not very much of it good. There are, of course, positive notes, and this isn't the end of the world, and I think this is really to be expected with any kind of remodeling job you do, or in our case, restoration job we're doing. Things can be difficult, and if you don't have at least one difficult week, did you really try your hardest? So this is ours, and so I want to share all that with you. But before we get too far into that, isn't this the sweetest thing ever? This is our puppy Odie. He's here hanging out.
Our little elderly man.
He's having a nice nap on the bed and hanging out with his mom.
Yeah.
So
yesterday was a tough day, y'all.
Yeah, Kim.
Get through it.
Kim ended up being a hero last night, and I'll discuss that with you guys here shortly. But before we get into any of that, I do have to talk briefly about what's going on in Ukraine. I do want to send Kim and I's thoughts and prayers out to you Ukrainians. I know I have some here who follow the channel, and I don't know how to begin to say how sorry we are for you guys and how much we want to see you guys pull through, because this is insanity. So our hearts go out to you guys. I am going to leave a link down in the description for 7 charities. If you guys want to donate money to, personally, me and Kim are going to be donating to the Red Cross of Ukraine. So hopefully that people who do get hurt can be helped, that food can be brought in, and that some damage can be avoided that way, let's say. So again, I know I'm kind of bumbling around this. Again, I don't know what to say. Our hearts go out to Slava Ukraini. Okay, so we've got past that somehow. Let's go through some of the positive things first that we've come through this week. Some really good things have happened, and I definitely want to start off on some of the higher notes. And then as the video goes on, we'll work our way back to some of the disasters of this week. So let's first start off in the basement. This here is the first delivery of our wood for the Mansard roof. This is the replacement wood. It is cut out of cypress, and these profiles here are for the top. So the top crown and the dormers up on the Mansard. I'll take you guys outside in a second and show you guys where those are. But we got to go over to Eric's shop and you know, see the Hollenbrow machines that these beautiful pieces are being cut on, which again is so cool that we're putting together the house, at least the exterior, with Hollenbrow equipment, which I think is so cool. And I've started getting these all primed up and ready to go. I'm gonna prep these all here inside. There's a few more over there that are sitting on some buckets drying, but we've coated them with this stuff here, which is called Wood Life. It's a wood preserver. This is what he recommended to put on it. And I know it's also an insecticide and it's antifungal, so fungus won't grow on the wood. These are all cut in cypress, so it's a very hardy wood for the exterior applications. So yeah, really excited about this, because even though we're still a little ways off getting all this wood back up on the outside and especially getting the dormers fixed up has been a goal from day one. and this is one step closer to realizing that goal, and that's super exciting. So outside, I want to show you the pieces that those pieces of wood are. They're cut from these samples of these pieces of wood. It's the very top piece of cap here and around the top at the tower, and the piece that goes along the top of the dormer, and this thin piece is actually underneath that cap up there. So let that focus back out there. You can see pretty clearly there's a full-on piece of it missing from that dormer, so that you see the other side. That's the piece we got. Now, this big piece here that wraps around the whole thing, the white piece at the very edge at the top, that piece there is the next one that we have getting cut, along with the scalloping shape up there. I don't know a better term for it, but those are being cut right now as well. And so we're really hoping to get all these back up, because again, if we can get this all rebuilt out, keep the water out, keep everything nice and dry, and of course give the girl a new hat, because she desperately needs it. So that'll be coming hopefully soon, not as soon as I'd like, but it'll definitely probably be a summer project for us. And yeah, getting it back, I mean, that's a huge step. Along with that, these windows here should be coming in any day now. So these 4 windows or 5 windows should be getting done fairly quickly, which I'm really excited about, because that one in particular leaks a lot of air. So yeah, we're gonna get that all back together. I'm gonna make the old girl real happy in that respect. Since we're now here in the backyard, since we're still outside, I want to show you guys one of the other awesome little things we were able to acquire this week, which is a nice Hall & Brown number 60, which is behind the paddle there. From what I was told, this is what's called a dado saw. So the blade has the ability actually to come forward and make a controlled cut, so the blade itself actually moves forward. That's what I'm told anyways. I have no way to confirm that. I will probably use this eventually as a table saw, a very nice, very large table saw. And this is the first Hall & Brown piece of equipment that I have that has a complete plate on it. So you can very easily tell who made the big machine, because this thing probably weighs like about 1,200 pounds. It is super heavy, super hard to move. And definitely a special thank you to my grandfather, who actually went to St. Joseph, Missouri, about 4.5 hours away, and went and got this for me. He had the trailer to go do it, and made it happen. So super excited about this. Again, it'll expand my capability of what I can do here after I get it serviced, of course. And it'll make a really cool piece in the workshop that will be here in the garage at some point. And, you know, furthermore, guys, it's more pieces of you know, the history here coming back, and this is a real living piece of the legacy that the guy who built my home you know, left behind. And I'm glad to be able to pick up the pieces and share this with you all when you come visit, as a working piece of history of the house, which I think is so very cool. And yes, at some point we will get into the garage. My garage door is broken to the point where I can't get it open. And my fear is if I do force it open, I won't get it closed again. And that's kind of a big no-no. So working on that, guys. But of course, I've got a million other projects I gotta get handled. But of course, now with this big machine sitting out here, it's moving higher up the list pretty quickly. I do have some really cool things in there to show you guys at some point. However, the garage itself is not from the same era as the house. And I can show you one little context clue to identify why it's not from that era. If we come to the corner here, you can see the foundation is a concrete one. They were not using concrete foundations in 1890 when they built my house. So I assume this is probably from the 1920s or 30s. Probably about the same time that the driveway went in. I'm assuming this is a Dr. Yineman thing. And yeah, some of the fun little decorative brick or terracotta, not sure which it is. That's definitely a brick. I think this is terracotta that was left here by the previous owner, which I will find some cool purpose for. So next, let's get to the project that I have been working on a lot for the last few weeks. That, of course, is the powder room in here, and to the lovely wallpaper design that we have. Little column A, little column B on this one as far as good and bad. There was definitely some holdups. There was definitely a huge learning curve here. But what I have gotten so far, I think, is looking awesome. It's just not very much of it because it's extremely time consuming. And the guy who I had cut my stencil originally went out of town, and I'll explain that here in a second. So let me just show you what's going on. A lot of the pattern is on the wall, but you can see some discrepancies in, well, lines and things like that. This is all stenciled, but of course, as you get down here to this corner, this chunk right here is basically correct and right. That's a little bit of the learning curve, but what I'm using to do this pattern, well, at least was anyways, this here, which is a cut stencil. But what happens, and this is me after me trying to clean the thing, I'm using spray paint to do this, as you guys saw in the time lapse. Essentially, as you paint through it, the spray paint is so thick that it clogs the stencil. So essentially, I just need a few more of these to complete it. So this one did quite a bit. I just need probably about 5 more of these, and then I will have, I think, a pretty good amount of success in making all of this happen. So if we come in closer to this section right here, we can see that the pattern is actually pretty awesome. It's pretty much perfect. It's turning out really, really nicely, and it's basically exactly what I can design to the computer because, well, it was laser cut. So my initial attempt to do this, I actually hand cut a stencil, drew it on the wall, and then tried to paint it by hand. And I don't do pinstriping, or I never did pinstriping in my art career. So it was a really, really difficult task. But it's solid. It looks great. It's hardy. It's set up pretty much perfectly. There are some minor imperfections here and there. And of course, as we go a little bit higher up, you start noticing the limitation of what a stencil can do. You have these bridges in here, which if you notice back down here again, they don't exist. And that's because they had to be hand painted in. So that's the compromise for getting this done. However, at the end of the day, I actually have been having quite a bit of fun with this. The guy who I had do this is an artist by the name of Pete Walliger, who cut this stencil for me. He owns a bunch of laser cutters, and I used to help him with murals back in the day, about a few years ago. So he's a good friend of mine. You can check out his art. He goes by Eyes. He's a really cool dude. He's got some pretty cool stencil videos. I'll link those in the description as well if you guys want to check those out. But he ended up cutting this stencil for me, and he went out of town because it was an art show in, I believe, Chicago. And so now that he's back, I'll be getting a few more of these cut. And so that was the first big delay and why you didn't see a video last week, because I would have had this done. I've just been waiting for him to get back. So in lieu of being able to do this, I have moved on to other projects with the help of Kim and my father, like sanding the rest of the beadboard that I have and also locating more of it, which I did find some. I'm going to have to go all the way to Peoria, Illinois to get it though, which is about 2.5 hours away, which isn't that big of a deal. So we'll go get the rest of this, and that way this room will be cohesive and finished out with the beadboard hopefully quite soon. So here are some of the things that we've sanded up. This was a top cap that you've seen me set in white on top of the beadboard. So this will go around the room. So I've got one piece of this completely cleaned. This had some of that really nasty linseed oil paint on it as well. Or maybe it was just lead, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it was kind of tough, but this is at least one good piece we have ready. There are many more. It's just not the easiest thing to strip in the world. And then we've cleared, I think, 4 boards of the beadboard here, which doesn't equate to as much as you think on the wall itself, because most of these aren't able to make 2 pieces, but only 1 piece for the beadboard. So that means we only get about, I think, 6 inches each time, we clean a board, which is unfortunate, but it's what we're working with. Some of the other boards are a bit bigger, and so we'll probably get at least 2 widths of board with each of those, and I think we have 3 of those done. If we come over here, you can see a few more of the pieces cleaned up. There's a little bit of test shellacking just to make sure the color stays consistent within the bead. I mean, that's one thing. We can use a machine to sand here, but we cannot use a machine to sand the beads. So each of these beads, all the way up for these, I think they're 12-foot long pieces, has to be completely done by hand, which is why some of it's time consuming, super time consuming. And of course, this was kind of the last little bit of this style beadboard at the place. So of course we have all kinds of nail holes and problems all galore. There's blowouts, but it's all I could find of this specific beadboard in St. Louis. I had bought, the first batch I bought was some pretty good stuff. The problem is when I went back a week later, they had sold all of it. So I'm left kind of digging for scraps. But like I said, we found some in Peoria. We will make sure to get this done. Of course, did finish out the windows for that room as well. These were definitely in that linseed oil paint because they were originally faux grained. I do believe these were actually the windows or maybe part of the cabinetry of the butler's pantry that were repurposed to be in the bathroom. These, when I think you guys saw them last, were actually painted blue and then white on the outside, white lead. So I've got these pretty much perfectly stripped. There's some little on the bottoms here and there that just, I mean, nothing's flush here. There's some really rough edges. So you see on the top of this one, and a few of the other ones are like that, they're really not terribly flat or flush. In fact, most of these I was able, or I had to sand out a lot of the saw cuts. So you can see here, there's some saw blade chatter. See these little lines that kind of run across? That's from the saw blade as it's cutting, because the saw blade's spinning and it's leaving these lines on here. Yeah, there's maybe a better show of what's going on here. So these were always actually left extremely rough for whatever reason. Again, they weren't in a really nice area. So they kind of just left them a bit rough. And I think to sand all of it off would be a mistake on my part. So I've kind of tried to go somewhere in between perfection and leaving them really sloppy. So I'm trying to find that middle ground, but these will be shellacked towards the end of the video for your guys' viewing pleasure. So we'll see all the nice color change on these at the end. So now comes the part of the week that I even dread talking about, because it's actually really, like, in comparison to what's going on in the world, none of this is a big deal, and I completely understand that, and I don't want to come off as, I don't know, being overwhelmed by something or anything like that, but this next thing has, it really hurt me, because you guys know how much I care about this place, and I don't want to see anything bad happen to it, but we had a bit of a disaster. As you saw in some of the previous time lapses, Kim and John were up here helping me, and we were sanding beadboard, and he was, my father, John, was looking to put a piece of beadboard up against the wall to grab another to start sanding. And I think as a few of you guys know, I did put holes in the floor, or actually just took up, in the case of the library here, I took up this bit of flooring right here, and the reason I did that was to expose this to wire the medallion that's below us. The medallion being the one that's in the dining room. As I've spoken a few times about, it has fruit, it's really beautiful, it's super nice. So now these boards weren't here then when we were sanding, but I always kept like a trash can or something here. And I mean, the rule of thumb when you're in the house is watch the holes, watch the holes, watch the holes, watch the holes, watch the holes. Well, my dad, when he was moving that piece of beadboard, didn't watch the hole, and he stepped right through it. Now, my father is fine. He got a few scratches, a few scrapes, but he put his foot all the way through that area. And we're gonna have to go downstairs to show you what became of that situation. Now, I've purposely not moved anything in here so I could show you guys how this all happened. The medallion, you can see a little bit of it still up there, right here. That's been there It's been there for 140 years, and under my watch it fell. And I'm not mad at my father. It's mostly my fault for not covering up the hole or not being on him that day to watch the hole, watch the hole, watch the hole. I have had this workspace and designed this workspace to what I know I'm good at. I'm really balanced. I play ice hockey, I used to skateboard, I used to rock climb. I'm balanced. I know where to step and where to move, and I know where I've put things. But when I bring others in here, which is why to some extent I am cautious about others in here, and why I haven't asked for volunteers or anything like that, I don't want somebody to come in and break something by accident, because even though it was maybe somebody else who broke something, it's under my watch. And I feel a deep amount of regret for what happened here. That doesn't mean we don't keep going forward. It doesn't mean I don't put that thing back up there perfect the way it was. Luckily, enough of it fell in a really convenient area to not be so destroyed. So let's go to that. So luckily, what was directly underneath that medallion was this little blue chair, which is nice and soft, and a box of foam that I had conveniently just opened the day before that had a bunch of a Cooper shipment in it. So Cooper Strip Club, my stripper that I use, coming in and saving the day again. So we were very lucky that this was sitting here and not just open floor. Thank goodness. However, the damage has certainly been done. This is what's left of the medallion. It's really, really unfortunate because of it. Any other of the medallions in the house, they're duplicates. They're one of two in the house. So there's 2 pairs in each of the bedrooms. They're the same. The 2 in the parlor are the same. I suppose that's all of them anyways, but this one here was unique to the house. It was the only one here. And if I'm being frank about it, guys, I cried about this. And I know maybe it's trivial to some of you guys, and oh, it's not that big of a deal, but to me, this is such... I mean, think about the stories in the conversations over dinner that were had, and this thing sat there for 140 years, and it's my fault it's on the ground now. Kim even actually had to put this all back together because I couldn't handle it yesterday. I couldn't possibly try to figure this out. And this is the main reason why the video was delayed. I didn't even know how to collect my thoughts about it. It's a mess. Now, luckily, even like the flower here in the center, I have most of the pieces. I have basically everything from it. And this entire chunk here is one solid piece. Now we have part of it there that belongs there, and this one here is still on the ceiling, which I will get down very carefully. We've already contacted the local Plaster company here that specializes in ornate stuff like this. We are going to get this thing cast, we are going to put it back up, and it's going to look like it never happened. You know, I've promised, I know it's a house, but I've promised this place that I will get it back looking the way it did. And I'm going to make it happen. I don't care what it is. If mistakes happen, I must fix my mistakes. And so we're going to make this happen. My father's going to help me out with it. It's not going to be cheap, but we're going to make it happen. I'm not just going to go back over it without this specific medallion being up there. But it still hurts me deeply, the fact that it won't ever be the original. It won't be the original one. It'll be a copy. And I hate that. I hate that. You know, guys, I knew there was bound to be one bad week. There's bound to be a few bad weeks. You know, these things aren't easy and mistakes happen. I never thought I would make a mistake that I couldn't actually fix myself. And yeah, here we are. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop this project. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop any of this. I will pick myself up, we'll dust ourselves off, and we will get this project done. So the disaster with the medallion happened yesterday. and that's why you guys didn't get a video. But of course, the day was not done with me. That night, last night, we got a pretty big rainstorm in St. Louis. A lot of water really quickly for an extended period of time, which isn't fun, and it isn't a good combination. And somehow my gutters clogged up to the point where they overflew. And so I'm sitting downstairs last night, thinking about the day and how I was going to make this video and what I was going to make it about because of the disaster with the Medallion. And I hear water dripping, and I hear it dripping heavy. Dripping isn't even the right word, pouring. And I'm like, what is that noise? What's going on? And so I ran up here to the library. And what I see in here is a waterfall coming not from the window itself, but from the case. So the frame of the window around it, the thing that the sashes sit in. A waterfall. What had happened was my gutters up here, because all of this flat roof, this is a flat roof structure, all of the water on the flat roof from both flat roofs feeds to this one point right here. It comes down as a gush. And somehow, and I'm still unsure how, I have pine needles, or these long pine needle looking things in the gutter, which doesn't make any sense because there are no pine trees here. I mean, there are in St. Louis, just not here. And none of the trees that I can locate around here have these little, or these long needly looking things in here. I had gutter guards installed on these gutters, and because these are long and spindly, they still clogged my gutter. So because I had junk in the gutter that I was unaware of and should have checked, and because of the mass of water from an 1,800 square foot combined two roofs feeding to one single point, this was overwhelmed. And what happened is the water bust over the gutter, almost knocked the gutter off, came rushing down this wall, got through some flaw in the tuck pointing up here, got in between the brick cords, and ran down this window on the inside. As you can see, I've done a pretty good job, I think at least, of trying to dry this all out. This is a repair, actually. You can see the cut here and here that I've repaired. So this wood is actually new. Of course, it's not as good as it was, say, yesterday before all of this, but I think it will still survive. It's open somewhat down there below in the dining room. Anyways, this had been a problem before I bought the house that I thought I had solved, but apparently not. Now back down here in the dining room, this is the area it came down on. Again, this radiator mimics the one upstairs on that window. This is the dining room. And you can see where I've mopped up everything. The floor here really isn't too worse for wear. And this area up here with the plaster above the window. So this is right where that radiator's up here. I mean, I suppose luckily, this is a place that had so much damage before that it's probably going to have to be removed anyways to be fixed. So at least it isn't affecting something that's new or isn't needing repair. So I guess we're supposedly somewhat lucky in that front. Lucky for me though, I have an amazing girlfriend. So when this was all happening, I was here. She was at our home. She dropped everything she was doing, rushed up here with a towel and some fans. We were able to dry the area out. Before I could even say, hey, I need to go up to the gutter, she was already up there on the roof shoveling the gutters out as I'm trying to catch water. You know, I just wanted somebody here just in case I fell off the roof, and she just went up and did it. So Kim is the real MVP of this week. And so on that note, we're getting new gutters. I'm getting better gutter guards. You know, I've tried to do prevention in this case, and what I have up there is a very inferior product that is not working for the situation I have right now. I'm trying to figure out what the source of these little, or these long pine needles they're not pine needles, I don't know what they are, but I'm trying to figure out what the source of that is. Maybe it's birds, maybe it's something. I don't know what I have to do to get up there. But I do have solutions now in place to fix this problem. St. Louis is a rainy city. We get lots of rain. What happened there last night is actually what has destroyed many, many buildings in this neighborhood. With these flat roofs, you have so much surface area to catch so much water, and then it all wants to funnel to one point. And that's how they're designed to do, is to funnel to one point. You have one downspout on the back of the building that's supposed to handle all the surface area up there. And it's not enough. So we're going to figure out more solutions, better solutions, and we're going to get this handled, because this cannot happen again. So it's been a fun week, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I want to stress, I knew I was going to have bad weeks like this. I knew there were going to be challenges. That's kind of par for the course. And I can't wait to look back on this when I have this beautiful girl back together. And do you remember that one night, Kim, when we had a waterfall coming through a window? Or do you remember when John put his foot through a medallion? It's kind of hard to laugh now. You know, I have the opposite emotion thinking of it all right now, but I know one day I'll laugh about this. And, you know, what's the achievement mean if you didn't struggle at all? Well, it wasn't hard enough then. So you have to have struggle, and we certainly got our share this week. But that changes nothing. The goal is still the same. The challenge, you know, you must rise to meet the challenge. And again, you know, I can't stress it enough. These are minor things comparatively to, you know, what's important in life and really what's going on in the world these days. These are very minor things. We're still so very lucky to have what we have, to be given this gift. Not that we didn't work hard for it. We worked very hard to be where we are, but, you know, there's still luck involved here too. So we're still extremely grateful for all of this, and excited to get going with next week and show some real progress, as opposed to having the project beat us up a little. So, as always, guys, we thank you guys so much for being here, so much for supporting us. So I'll leave you guys with this time lapse of the shellac going on the windows up there, so we can end on a high note, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, wherever you are. Have a fantastic one. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.